Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the sources to give you the essential knowledge fast. Today, we're taking on a seemingly minor annoyance that actually holds the key to your home's financial security: standing water.
Oh, yeah, you know the scene. It storms, and then you have that one persistent puddle near the back patio.
Right. Or that swampy patch of lawn that just never, ever seems to dry out.
Exactly. And most people, they just see it as a nuisance,
Yeah.
something that kills the grass or
Yeah.
stains the concrete. They might grab a shovel and try to fill it on.
Exactly. But here's the alarm bell we really need to ring. That puddle is not just a cosmetic flaw. It is a critical warning sign that your home's most valuable asset, the foundation, well, it's actively under attack.
And that's what this deep dive is all about. Our mission is pretty simple: to help you quickly grasp why those simple yard puddles pose a major structural risk and what professional modern solutions actually look like.
We're going to unpack the physics of why water is so destructive, diagnose the real, often invisible culprits, and show you how these drainage systems really function as essential infrastructure for your home.
And our insights for this dive come from the expertise of Johnson Property Service, JPS. They're a premier landscaping company based out of Buford, Georgia.
And they have a special focus on advanced drainage solutions, particularly for properties in the Dacula, Georgia area. So let's jump in and look for those warning signs.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. If a listener walks outside after a storm, what are the, say, 3 definitive red flags that tell them their property is vulnerable?
The signs are surprisingly clear once you know what you're looking for. The first, and I think the most obvious, is just pooling water.
Standing water.
Standing water. If it lingers near your foundation, on your patio, or if parts of your lawn stay soggy for, say, 24 to 48 hours after the rain stops, that's your primary indicator.
And I think most people see that and they worry about, mosquitoes or damaging the grass.
Right.
But the danger is so much deeper.
It is. The second sign is soil erosion. You need to look for visible signs that the ground is literally washing away.
Like what, specifically?
You'll see exposed tree roots, mulch beds that are just washed out, or even little gullies forming on any kind of slope. That uncontrolled flow of water, what we call stormwater runoff, is acting like a tiny, destructive river.
And it's carving up the land and probably pointing all that water right where you don't want it.
Precisely, directly toward the house. And that leads to the third flag, which is just the sheer volume of that uncontrolled runoff. If you watch during a heavy rain and you see water just sheeting off your driveway or pouring from your downspouts and rushing across the property,
Your landscape is overwhelmed.
it's completely overwhelmed. It can't absorb or redirect that water safely. And those symptoms, all together, they tell us a massive underlying structural threat is active.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. Why is saturated soil so dangerous? I mean, it's just water and dirt, right? Why is that an existential threat to a concrete foundation?
It really comes down to the science of it, and a term we need to understand is hydrostatic pressure.
Okay.
When poor drainage channels all that excess water towards your home, the soil around the foundation, especially if you have that dense Georgia clay, it becomes completely saturated. Water fills every single pore and crevice.
So the ground itself changes.
Transforms. No, we're talking about potentially tens of thousands of dollars in repairs, cracks, sealing, maybe even underpinning the foundation, all because of what looked like an innocent puddle.
So the main benefit of a professional drainage solution isn't just a drier lawn.
Not at all. It's preventing the structural equivalent of a heart attack for your home.
Wow. Okay, so we need to shift from the symptom to the cause. Most homeowners, I imagine, just blame the heavy rain.
They do, which is sort of like blaming the match when the forest floor is bone dry. The rain is just the trigger. It's not the real cause.
Okay, so if the storm is just the trigger, what is the actual underlying flaw? And what's the first mistake people make when they try to fix it themselves?
The biggest mistake is what I call the shovel fix. You see the puddle, you try to fill it with more dirt or, build a little landscape timber wall.
You're just treating the symptom.
Exactly. You haven't solved the core mechanism. The real problem, more often than not, is subpar property grading.
Let's linger on grading because that feels like the invisible culprit here.
It absolutely is. Grading is just the slope of the land right around your house. Imagine your house is sitting in a big, shallow bowl. You want that bowl to slope down and away from the structure.
For how far?
At least 10 feet in all directions. If that grade is flat or, and this is the worst case scenario, it's sloping back toward the house.
You've basically built a funnel.
You've built a funnel. That's the perfect way to put it. Every drop of rain is invited right to the place where it can do the most damage and maximize that hydrostatic pressure.
So you could have a perfectly built foundation, but if the land around it slips the wrong way, you're just doomed from the start.
You are. The best foundation in the world can't fight an unending flow of water that's guided right to it by bad grading. And that's a flaw that, superficial fixes just can't solve. It requires a professional to come in and regrade the land.
And this problem is probably worse in certain areas, right? Like you mentioned Dacula, Georgia.
Yes, because of the soil. The heavy, dense clay soil you find there makes everything worse. That clay doesn't drain well naturally, so it holds water against the foundation for much, much longer.
So that hydrostatic pressure just gets more time to do its work.
Exactly. It just sits there and pushes. That's why having that local expertise, someone who understands Georgia's rainfall and that specific red clay, is absolutely crucial.
Okay, so we know the problem is pooling water and erosion, and we know the cause is often bad grading or bad soil. How do professionals like JPS actually fix this? I mean, they're not just digging a trench and hoping for the best, right?
No, not at all. They start with a critical diagnosis.
Yeah.
You have to figure out if you're dealing with primarily surface water. That's the fast runoff flowing across the top, or subsurface water.
The water underground.
Right, the slow-moving water that's saturating the soil underground. They're two different problems, and they require two different targeted engineered systems.
I kept seeing two terms pop up in the source material. French drains and catch basins. Are those the industry standards, and how are they different?
They are the standards, yeah. And they serve completely different masters. Let's start with the French drain. Its whole purpose is to deal with that invisible subsurface water.
So tell me how it works. Mechanically, what is it doing that's so effective at relieving that hydrostatic pressure we talked about?
It's actually ingenious in its simplicity. It's an underground trench that's lined with a special filter fabric. It's filled with coarse gravel, and inside all that is a perforated pipe.
A pipe with holes in it?
Exactly. The gravel acts like a sponge and a filter, creating an easy path for water to follow. The perforated pipe at the bottom is like the highway for that water.
So the water that's already saturated the soil, instead of pooling and pressing against the foundation, it gets intercepted by the gravel, flows into the little holes in the pipe.
And then it's guided safely away from the house. It's actively diverting that subterranean pressure. It defends your foundation, and it dries out those soggy parts of the yard that seem to stay wet for days.
So it's a defensive measure against an unseen force.
Perfectly put.
Okay, so then we have the other tool, catch basins. What kind of water are they managing?
Catch basins are for the immediate high-volume threat. They're for surface water. They are those, graded inlets you see.
In driveways and low spots?
Exactly. They're placed at strategic low spots, and they're designed to rapidly collect runoff that's moving too fast to soak into the ground.
So water streaming off a patio, a driveway, or pouring out of a downspout?
Precisely that. They stop the torrent right where it starts. The water enters the basin, drops into a little sump area that traps debris, and then it's channeled away through a solid underground pipe system.
So it's about stopping the problem before it even begins, before the ground gets saturated.
You got it. And a company like JPS, they use these tools, often together, along with custom grading, to create a solution that's tailored, reliable, and this is critical long-lasting.
Now, how invasive is this? I think a lot of homeowners fear their whole yard is going to be torn up for weeks.
And that's where professional execution makes all the difference. I mean, yes, correcting grading requires machinery. There's going to be some disturbance. But an expert minimizes that impact. They install the system, they restore the land, they stabilize it, and the final result is a system that is completely out of sight.
So that seamless integration, that's really central to the whole modern approach.
It is, and it brings us to a really crucial reframing of how we should think about this. We need to stop viewing drainage as a reactive emergency expense, like fixing a burst pipe.
It's a proactive investment.
It is a proactive, high-return investment.
I love that idea. I mean, by neutralizing the threat of foundation damage, which we said can cost tens of thousands of dollars, you're safeguarding the entire value of your biggest asset.
Exactly. It's an investment that pays you back by removing a huge future liability. You can think of it like insurance, but with curb appeal.
Ah, and that leads to the aesthetics of it, the dual mandate, as you called it.
Right. It has to be effective, But it should also be invisible. We shouldn't have to trade beauty for functionality anymore. The days of having big, ugly concrete ditches are over.
So the solutions should either be completely hidden, like the French drain.
Or strategically integrated so they actually enhance the landscape.
Mhm.
And this is a core part of the JPS philosophy. Their whole commitment is to seamlessly integrate function with design.
And that came through very clearly in the source material.
It really did. Their spokesperson summarized it perfectly. They said, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but the quote was, "Our ultimate goal is not just to install functional drainage systems, but to create ones that also integrate seamlessly with the existing landscape design."
So it enhances the aesthetics and the property value while preventing the structural problems.
This way, we can enhance the overall aesthetics of a yard and increase property value while preventing long-term structural issues. That's the quote.
That is the bottom line right there. A great drainage system is a dual benefit investment. It gives you essential structural protection, and at the same time, it boosts your curb appeal and your overall market value.
It turns a long-term liability into an attractive asset.
So for listeners in that Dacula, Georgia area who have recognized these red flags, the pooling water, the erosion, it's clearly time to seek out expert help.
Help that understands the local landscape. Johnson Property Service, based right nearby in Buford, is that premier company. Their whole emphasis is on meticulous execution, using advanced techniques so they're providing engineered solutions that last.
Not just a temporary fix.
Not at all. And they offer a whole suite of outdoor services, landscape design, turf care, irrigation, which really shows their depth of expertise. But it's that specialized focus on drainage for property owners in Dacula that positions them as the authoritative local experts. They know that Georgia clay.
And that local expertise really matters when the stakes are this high. So if you're in the Dacula area and you've seen pooling water near your foundation or visible erosion, it's not a matter of if you need an assessment, but when.
Protecting your foundation is probably the single best preventative maintenance step you can take for your home. We'd really encourage you to reach out and get that expert assessment.
Okay, for listeners who are ready to take that next step, here is your direct call to action. You can call JPS directly at 678-654-1653. We'll also have that number in the show notes for you.
And if you'd rather look online first, you can see their Dacula services and their detailed drainage expertise at landscapingbyjps.com/drainage-services. We'll have links to their Google business profile in the show notes as well.
This has been a fascinating dive into the physics of your own backyard. To quickly synthesize everything we've covered, standing water is not just a nuisance. It is a big red flag signaling structural risk from that relentless hydrostatic pressure.
Second, remember that professional solutions have to be targeted. You need French drains for the subsurface water and catch basins for that high-volume surface runoff. These are engineered defenses.
And third, truly great drainage is effective, invisible, and it enhances your property's value. It's critical infrastructure, not just a repair.
So here is a final provocative thought for you to carry forward. The true test of your home's vulnerability isn't the next downpour.
It's happening right now while the ground is dry.
Exactly. Instead of waiting for a storm, actively walk your property today and just observe the grading, that invisible slope of the land right around your foundation.
Does the ground slope correctly, moving water safely away, or is it flat, inviting water to sit and press against the walls? What story is your dry landscape telling you about your home's security before the next raindrop even falls? That's what we want you to explore and act on.
We hope this deep dive helps you move from, just ignoring a minor puddle to understanding and mitigating a major structural risk.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.